As many of you know, Airbnb is my thing. I love talking about it. But what you may not know is that I went from $1,000 a month in Airbnb to just 18 months later, a year and a half, making over $20,000 per month, almost completely passively. I'm going to tell you how I did it and how you can do it right now on the Fearless Investor Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome into the Fearless Investor Podcast. And that is right. I'm giving away my secrets today on how to build a 5-figure per month, almost completely passive Airbnb business. And that is exactly what we're talking about today. The reason I want to give away these secrets is because I just think that this has completely changed my life. So when you find something good, shouldn't you want to share it? That's kind of the mentality that I've adopted over the last really 2 years. And that's not a mentality that I had in the past, but it is now. And it's one that I'm really going to encourage you guys to have as well. Now, at the end of this podcast, I am going to let you know there is going to be a quote unquote sale and opportunity for you to be able to go out and get something that can help you tremendously in your ability to build an Airbnb business. If you know me, I don't really do sales here on my podcast. I'll always push whatever my guests are bringing value for. If they have a free book or if they have a course, I'm always going to talk about that on the podcast. But in terms of stuff that I have, I'm not usually selling because I just believe in giving away information for free. And honestly, up until recently, I just figured if you want it bad enough, you're going to go find a way to do it. So I kind of just got to the point where I'm like, well, if you are going to go find a way to do it, why not come to me and I can give you that way to do it? So that is going to be exactly what I tell you, but you got to stick around to the very end here. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is my story. Some of you have heard my story. Some of you are probably brand new to the podcast and you're wondering, well, what is this guy's deal? Like, how did he get into Airbnb? How did he build it that quickly? And honestly, like just being completely transparent, I did not build this quickly. I built this by myself the first 3.5 years. And it was very obvious I was doing it by myself because I was making tons of mistakes and leaving hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million on the table over those first 3.5 years. And the reason being is because the only thing I ever thought Airbnb could provide was an opportunity to rent out a room so that it can help you pay for your mortgage. That was all I saw. That's how it was presented to me. That's how I thought it would be built. And I never saw it as a business opportunity. I just saw it as another stream of income that was going to help me to be able to pay for some of my bills and expenses. So, right around that time in my life, I was dealing with a lot of stress. I had a business that was, I was working sometimes 80 hours a week and barely getting paid enough to even take care of my every month expenses. And I just had this need for just like any little bit mattered. That was the mindset that I had. It was very much a like, you trade your time for dollars, and anything that seems too good to be true probably is. So you make it smaller than it is. And that's what Airbnb was in my life at that time. This is 2015 is where I'm going back to right now. And I was in Arizona and I had this mindset that like, wow, this is the easiest money I've ever made. It's really nice that I'm making, $600, $700, sometimes $1,200 when it was spring training over in Arizona. That was nice to make for a monthly nut. And for that reason, I was just like, that's all it'll ever be. It's not going to turn into any more. I see these people doing their entire houses, but you gotta own that house, and you got to be able to, have another place that you're going to live. And I could barely even afford to get this first house. And so for that reason, 3.5 years going by, it was nice to be able to help pay for the mortgage. But then it was one day that I was like, hey, you know what? And this is 2018. I wake up and I'm like, I'm going out of town this weekend. What if I like put all my belongings in my closet and locked my closet for the weekend and put my house up on Airbnb? At that time, I'd been renting my room out for anywhere between like $37 to $45 per night. So do the math there. I was probably making close to like $750 a month. And so I said, let's just try it and let's put some absurd number out there. Let's go like $119. And I had this beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that was in a really nice community. And And, now I look back at that, I'm like, man, I could have got like $200 a night for that. But I just did it, and I threw it up there, and it got booked all 3 nights that I was out of town. I made $450 with the cleaning fee included to leave my house for a weekend. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, that was passive income. Like, I wasn't even there. I didn't even meet the guests. And I just completely I made like over half of what I was making just renting out a room in 3 days. And so at that point I was like, what else can I do here? Like, what have I been missing out on? And so I started, that was right around the time I started getting into like, I'm going to get into real estate. So I'm listening to all these podcasts, and this one podcast comes up from, honestly, just a guy that was in a group, an Instagram group of mine. I don't even know what the name of the podcast is anymore, but he had this guy on that was talking about how he had, like done this whole rental arbitrage thing in Airbnb. And it was like, that was the moment that this light bulb just went off. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. And so just for those of you that don't know what rental arbitrage is, very simply, you don't own the house, you rent it out from someone else, and then you sublease it on Airbnb. And for me, I was like, I thought I had to own the house. I thought it had to be like in my name. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, when I signed up for Airbnb, they didn't ask me for the title of the home. They didn't ask me for like, are you the owner? They just asked what the address is. And so I was like, well, and of course, fear creeps in, right? And that's why we call this the Fearless Investor podcast, because all this fear that holds us back from making a move, that was what was creeping in. Well, I can't convince a landlord to do that. There's no way. Or, well, this guy was doing it with apartments. That sounds great. That probably works in Southern California, like where he's at, but that's not going to work for me. Well, I don't know if I have the money to be able to furnish all these places. Well, just things left and right, left and right. Well, at the end of this podcast, he told us how you could go buy his course, just like what I'm going to talk about with you today. And so I was like, you know what? Let me go see what the price of the course was. It was affordable for me. So I was like, what's the worst that could happen? I mean, I literally made $450 in one weekend trying this on my own. What if I could do that every single day with multiple places? And this course apparently was going to tell me how to do that. So I downloaded the course, I took it, and like the whole time I was just like, light bulb, light bulb, light bulb. Oh my gosh, like this is what I've been missing for 3.5 years. So I went out with this huge desire to do an arbitrage. I set aside about $10,000, and I was like, I'm going to go find an apartment, and I'm going to be able to do arbitrage in an apartment. Well, very quickly, I realized that these apartments don't allow for arbitrage. They don't allow for you to sublease. And so, unfortunately, I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys right now. When I want something, I want it, and I'm not going to let anything stand in my way. Now, unfortunately, this course that I downloaded taught me the wrong way to do arbitrage. I will never teach anyone how to do this. I want you to learn from my mistakes. Ethically, what I did was not great. This course taught you how to kind of deceive the leasing agents and the leasing manager and the manager of the apartment complex. They showed you how to be like, oh, what if, what are your subleasing, bylaws, or whatever you want to say there. What are your, what are the ways that you allow for subleasing? And, they would tell us, and, oh, would you allow me to be able to put a lockbox outside? I like to have my maid come in and clean every once in a while, and sometimes I'm not home. It was very like under the rug, trying to get in and see if we could get away with not being caught. So that was the way I was taught. I shouldn't have done it, but I'll tell you this. I wanted it bad. I just wanted to go for it. And because I was calling all these places and being like, do you allow for subleasing? Do you allow for subleasing? No, 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 no. After about 20, I was like, gosh, like between me and this potential freedom is the word yes. And I need to find a yes. And so I forced a yes, and I went and did it the wrong way. I got caught 5 months later, and I had to move out my stuff. Now, luckily, the leasing agent on that was very nice about it. She was irritated, obviously. She was not happy about the fact that I did it, but she said, you know what? I'm really impressed how clean you kept the place. So I was like, yeah, we're better than a regular tenant. We're going to be able to make it better for you. Are you sure you don't want me to stay around? She's like, no, I can't let you do that. So what it did though, guys, is when and just so you know, like what I would do going back is I would have a professional conversation with an apartment complex. In fact, we were able to do, I have 2 apartments that I arbitrage in, and it was the first time they've ever done arbitrage or allowed it. So, and they don't usually allow for short-term leases or subleasing. So there is a way to be able to convince people. And that's what I'm going to tell you about in my course when I get to the end of this podcast here and how to be able to get there. But that's what I would have done going back. I would have done it professionally. I would have done it the right way. I wouldn't have gone under the rug. I would have been completely transparent, just like I am today. But what this did for me is it gave me the confidence, because I saw, holy cow, this 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment was grossing me over $2,400 a month in Fresno. I was doubling my rent, which in other words, it was costing me $1,300 or $1,200 or $1,300, and I was making $2,400. And so I was making just around $800 a month for this little 1-bedroom, 1-bath in Fresno. And so I said, well, what, shoot, let's go get this thing going with my actual, with actual houses. And so I had just gotten into real estate. I hadn't learned like how to burr, how to get things with creative financing, how to be able to take over subject to, nothing like that. And so I looked at my current situation. I had a home. I had a lot of equity in the home, and I had a choice. Do I want a 1031? Do I want to sell it? And I decided to sell it. So I sold this house. I was able to buy 2 rentals. I moved in, and this is the whole Gary Vee thing, right? Now I moved in with my parents because my dad was not doing well with his health. He passed away in January 2019. And right around this time in 2018, I had really gotten to the point, actually, sorry, I'm trying to think about this. So actually my dad had already passed. Sorry, timelines are all mixed up here. I was already living with my parents because my dad was sick. And so this was now May of 2019. He had passed about 4 months ago. I was helping my mom with the transition. I knew I was going to be there for about a year. So I decided it was time to just sell the house, take all the equity, and move it into 2 new homes. And in fact, now that I remember, I didn't even know about the 1031 exchange option at that point. So missed an opportunity there. But long story short, I got these 2 houses. I had enough money to be able to furnish them. They were pretty much rent ready, and I was off and running. I had an arbitrage apartment complex. I had 2 houses that I was Airbnb-ing, and suddenly before really even lifting my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm making like close to $3,000-$4,000 a month with Airbnb. This is life changing. Like literally a year ago, I was making $3,000 or $4,000 a month in an MLM that was like hard work, and I was putting in tons of hours. This was like, hey, I've got a cleaner. I've got some systems that I'm starting to develop. This is a little bit easier. And then I just went to town. I got another arbitrage. I got 2 more arbitrages after that. So I was up to 4 arbitrages. I got a place that I was able to burr. And now before the end of 2019, I was at 7 houses. So May 2019 was when I got my first arbitrage. And then fast forward, I was basically getting 1 per month right after that with a combination of owning and arbitraging. I had made in December 2019 right around $8,000 with these 7 units. And now it was like, okay, it's time to go. At that point, it was like, I still was kind of hiding this. I was like, I want to be the only one that knows about this. And so I really got to the point where I was just like, hey, do I tell people about this? And so I went to a few mentors, and you probably heard me talk about it before, but I go to this meetup group all the time where a local guy by the name of Jason Pritchard talks about just having an abundance mindset, how like giving away information without expecting anything in return will bring you tenfold what you ever thought you could do by yourself. What's the saying? It's if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And that was really the mindset that I had to adopt. So tough for me because I was like, well, what if I saturate the market? What if like, all these prices like have to go down? And I, again, it was fear, right? And so I had to just trust my mentors. I trusted Jason, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start telling people about it. And as soon as I started talking about it, people started coming to me and being like, hey, teach me. Hey, I've got a house. What would it look like if you did it for me? And I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool, starting to create some momentum. I got a group of like 10 people right away that were like, hey, I'll pay you and you just teach me how to do it. It's like, wow, this is really cool. Well, what happens next? March 2020, COVID happens, right? So I'm sitting at 7 or 8 units at this time, starting to help a bunch of people. And everyone and their mom was just like, Airbnb is going to disappear and the short-term rentals industry is completely shot and yada, yada, yada. You know, of course, anything that's going on right there, right then is going to last forever, right? Well, I just stuck with it. And I was like, all right, we're gonna do a little bit of adjusting, but we're gonna see what happens here in March, April, and May. In March, April, and May, here in Fresno, I didn't see much of a change. I still saw great occupancy rates right around 90%. I had to drop my rate slightly, but I was getting booked. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is still working. So what did I do? Abundance mindset. I told people, can't believe this. Airbnb is still working. And again, there was no ulterior motive behind that. I was just talking about it on my podcast. When people would call me or I would call people, they'd ask me, hey, how's Airbnb doing? You must be getting hit hard. I could have easily scarcity mindset been like, yeah, you should never do Airbnb. It sucks. It's really tough around here. No, I told them it was going great. And it was June 2020, just 5 months ago, when I'm sitting at now at this point, 9 or 10 units, that I'm like, okay, people are really starting to ask me how this thing is going and starting to call me and even ask, how could I do it for them? And there was this sudden opportunity because I talked about it, because I told people about it, because I screamed it from the top of a mountain, to quote Ron Burgundy. I was suddenly getting all these opportunities where people wanted to do deals with me. 50% of a deal is way better than 100% of no deal. That's the thing that you have to think about right now. If you're going to build any business, whether it's Airbnb, flipping, wholesaling, creative finance, shoot, if it's not even in real estate, 50% of a deal is way better than 100% of no deal. And that's what happens when you get this mindset of going with others will take you far. Not going by alone, taking you fast, going with others will take you far. And that's when people started saying, hey, manage my place. And here we stand today, just 5 months later, going from 10 units now to 24 units. We're about to add 2 more before the end of the year. We'll be at 26. And all of these, no money in the deal, 0 money in the deal. How is that possible? Well, hopefully you just learned a lot from my story. And that was, you got to do it. You got to get out there and talk about it. And you have to provide a service to people that is going to benefit them. And at the end of the day, that's what I was ready to provide. I said, you know what? We've got a system in place that I think if we took on 20 units, we'd be okay. Then we got to 20. And I was like, you know what? How can we add a few more things here to get to 30? Now we're on pace for 30. And then when we get to 30, it's going to be like, how can we get to 50? How can we get to 100? And it's all these little things that we're learning on a daily basis, plus providing a great service for people, being great communicators, being great stewards of what I over deliver and undersell all day long. Someone tells me, hey, how much can I make with an Airbnb? I'll analyze it for them. If you aren't analyzing deals, guys, fearlesskyle.com, you just download the Airbnb profit calculator. I can analyze deals all day long. I send those literally to people. They'll be like, hey, here's my address. What can I make? And I go and I download that profit calculator. I put in the numbers and I send it to them. And if I think it's going to make, call it $120 a night, I tell them it's only going to make $105 a night. And they look at the numbers and they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is way more than I'll make with a regular rental. And then after 2 or 3 months, they're like, I'm making more than I thought I was going to. I'm like, yeah, that's the way it works. We're always looking at these conservatively. And so I have a bunch of happy customers that are investors that already own properties that are now referring their friends. They're referring their family. They're referring other landlords that are just like, hey, I heard you're doing this for Steve. I want to do this for myself, that kind of thing. So with all that being said, that's my story, but there's a lot of how-tos, right? That you're kind of thinking, like, okay, Kyle, you got to this point where like you had all these people that are coming to you, but you have a podcast. And no, it's not because of the podcast. Maybe a little bit that I'm able to provide information, but it doesn't have to be a podcast. What if you went to meetup groups and said, hey, I want to teach your meetup groups how to do Airbnb, or hey, what if you made your own? I mean, YouTube, guys, YouTube and a podcast is absolutely free. Just all you have to do is literally YouTube is absolutely free. Podcast costs a little bit of money, but all you have to do is just go out there and give content, give information. There's lots of platforms to do it on. It doesn't have to be like what I'm doing, but I want to teach you how to do that. And here's what my offer is. So as I told you back in March, I started getting some people that were coming to me and being like, hey, how do I do this? I want to learn how to do it. I'll pay you to do it. And so I became like mentors to them. And I shared all this information and I got people results. And so what I want you to do is I want you to see what those results look like. I want you to go to fearlesskyle.com/Airbnb host. And I want you to see what people are saying about my help, about what I've been able to do for them. And then I want you to also click on this little button that says register now. And on register now, you'll be given an opportunity to be able to understand a little bit more about what we're offering. But it's basically a course plus a exclusive Facebook group. And by the way, the lifetime access to the course. But during this time that you're in this Facebook group, you're getting free, well, not free, but once you're in there, you're getting group coaching that every week I'm going on there and doing Q&As. You post anytime that you want. You've got questions being answered. Plus you have literally the roadmap of going just like me from zero to $20,000 per month of passive income. I'm not going to teach you something that I haven't done. I'm not going to tell you you're going to go make $100,000 because I haven't gotten there. But if you can just follow this roadmap, follow this course, and make money a non-issue. That's what I've been able to do. That's why I've been able to scale this. I've made money a non-issue in the business. How do you do that? You're going to have to learn that through the course. So again, fearlesskyle.com/Airbnb host. And all you have to do is go on there, take a look around, watch some of the reviews / testimonials that I have, see what people are getting in terms of results, and then just click on register now. Between now, which today is December 1st as we're releasing this, all the way up until December 20th, if you register anytime between that, you're going to get a 25% discount on this course. After December 20th, this thing is going to go up. And there's lots of opportunities to be able to do payment plans and that kind of thing. I want to make it easy for you. I want to make this super, super simple so that you can go on and you can make a life-changing decision. Guys, like this is what I'm talking about. So I'll just be transparent. The real price of the course eventually is going to be like $19.97. We're starting it out at $12.97, but with this 25% discount, you're going to get it for $9.97. Okay. That's how much value I want to provide for you right now. $9.97. If you got an Airbnb, and let's call it a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and let's call it in a very average place like, I don't know, a Phoenix, Arizona, a Dallas, Texas, something like that, an average place that people would maybe come for vacation every once in a while, but mainly it's just a good place to be able to get away. You could literally make that $9.97 back in like 5 nights booked on Airbnb. That's crazy, right? And to be able to have the roadmap to be able to go and build a business that is almost completely passive. I always say almost completely passive because I don't believe there's anything that you can build and continue to grow that isn't at some level active. So to build a 5-figure per month business for under $1,000 is just crazy to me. Like, and that's the time that we live in. We don't have to go to college. We don't have to, I mean, you know, if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, nurse, whatever, go to college. But it's things like this. As an entrepreneur, there's so many things out there. And maybe Airbnb is not the thing for you. Maybe it's wholesaling. Maybe it's flipping. There's so many courses and opportunities to be able to go learn out there that will teach you how to do this. And oh, by the way, having instant access, direct access to me as well through this Facebook group, through live Q&As, and also through just posting at any time and getting your questions answered. Like, how much better does that get? So as you can see, I'm very passionate about this. I'm very excited about this. We are going to be releasing the course. Right now, the goal date is going to be about 2 weeks from now. However, again, if you can register now over at fearlesskyle.com/Airbnb host and just click on register now, you're going to be able to sign up to be able to get, you're not signing up for the course, by the way, you're just signing up to be able to get the link with the 25% discount right there for you before anyone else does. So I hope, I hope that you're excited like I am. That's really all that I want right now is for you to be excited, and I want you to be driven to build something. And that's the whole reason why we come in here and we listen to podcasts like this, is because we want to build something. We want to get to a certain goal for a specific reason. And now I'm giving you that roadmap. It's been a long time coming, but I finally have decided that this is going to be what I push for you, so that you can get this roadmap on how to build an Airbnb business. How exciting is that? So one more time, fearlesskyle.com/Airbnb host. If you have any questions too, always feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at fearlesskyle. You can also book a free 15-minute call with me at fearlesskyle.com/consultation. So many different ways to get in contact with me. Either way, I just hope that today has inspired you to go out and conquer the world of investing, especially Airbnb investing. We'll see you next time.